From unsolved mysteries to unexplained phenomena, from comedy gold to relationship fails, Amazon Music's got the most ad-free top podcasts, included with Prime. Because the only thing that should interrupt your listening is, well, nothing. Download the Amazon Music app today.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into the recent swirl of questions around Florida Congressman Cory Mills. He's a Republican who's, well, become a figure of scrutiny lately, both politically and personally.
Yeah, definitely. And for this deep dive, we've pulled together quite a range of sources. We're looking at news reports from places like The Independent, Politico, NBC4, Washington, Media, plus, his Wikipedia page for background.
Right, and crucially, we also have the actual Office of Congressional Ethics referral and statements from the House Ethics Committee itself.
Exactly. So our goal here, our mission, if you like, is to really unpack these different allegations and investigations surrounding Congressman Mills.
We want to look closely at the conflicting stories about his Bronze Star, the ongoing ethics inquiries into his business dealings, and also a pretty concerning report about an alleged assault. It's about seeing what the sources actually tell us.
It's a really compelling situation, isn't it? You've got a sitting congressman, a decorated war veteran, and now he's facing these serious questions about his past and his current conduct.
So we're trying to sort of distill the key findings from all these different documents and reports.
See where the evidence points, basically.
Okay, let's get into it. Starting with the Bronze Star controversy. Now, Representative Mills got this medal for heroism in Iraq. This was back in 2003. The story goes he saved fellow soldiers Joe Haidt and Alan Babin under, intense enemy fire.
Mm-hmm. It paints a really vivid picture of bravery on the battlefield.
It does. The official write-up, which the Independent and Mediate covered, describes Mills giving critical aid to both men in really dangerous conditions.
But, and this is a big but a notice investigation, which those outlets also reported on, gives a very different picture. Sharply contrasting, actually.
Yeah, this is where it gets really quite striking. Joe Haidt, who Mills supposedly saved, he told Notice very directly that Mills didn't save his life, said he didn't even remember Mills being there at all.
Wow.
And Haidt described his own injuries as, well, not life-threatening. He even suggested they might have been from friendly fire. So, a core part of Mills's public image is being directly challenged by one of the people involved.
That's significant. And there's more. Sergeant First Class Chris Pinker, who was the platoon sergeant then, told Notice he could, quote, pretty much confirm 100% that Mills wasn't at the specific location, the bridges, where the Haidt and Babin incidents happened. Painter did say Mills might have helped later, back at their unit's position maybe, but not at that critical moment and place described in the award narrative.
Okay. And the questions keep coming, right? There was a medic involved, too.
Yes, medic Henry Barb. He was involved in evacuating Alan Babin. He also told Notice he doesn't remember Mills being part of that medevac.
Now, he'd be focused on the casualties, obviously.
Of course, his focus would be entirely on the wounded soldiers. But, his lack of memory, combined with others in the unit not recalling Mills being right there, it just adds another layer of, let's say, uncertainty to the official story.
And then there's this whole other incident involving Sergeant First Class Joe Ferrand.
Right. According to Army records, Mills was also credited with saving Ferrand from an insurgent in a separate event.
But Ferrand himself has said, what was his word?
He called it a fabrication, stated quite clearly that the reported event never took place. That's a very direct contradiction.
Fabrication. Wow. So how did Mills respond to all this? These are pretty serious challenges.
Well, according to the Independent and Mediate, his response was, first, that soldiers don't write their own award recommendations. That's the DA Form 638, the official form.
Right. That makes sense. It goes up the chain of command.
Exactly. It has to be reviewed and signed off. He also acknowledged Haidt's injuries weren't life-threatening and basically put the discrepancies down to the chaos of combat. He said something like, it was understandable that others may have different recollections.
So chalking it up to the fog of war, essentially.
Kind of. Now, it's true soldiers don't write their own awards, and the form needs signatures. But the core issue is still whether the initial account of what happened was accurate.
And someone checked his service record, didn't they? A newspaper?
Yeah, the Daytona Beach News Journal had previously verified his DD-214, that's the basic service record, and the Form 638 itself. But, crucially, that verification confirms the existence of the documents, not necessarily the absolute truth of every detail in the award narrative.
Okay, so the paperwork exists, but the story it tells is being questioned.
Precisely. And the brigadier commander who signed the form, Arnold N. Gordon Bray, told Notice that signing these was often a routine administrative thing. He specifically said he didn't personally validate the details of the actions described.
So his signature wasn't like a first-hand witness confirmation.
No, not at all. He said those details usually came from the people who were supposedly there who witnessed it. His signature was more procedural.
It's also worth noting, I think, that these aren't brand new questions, are they?
No, not entirely. As the Independent and Mediate mentioned, Mills' Republican primary challenger, Michael Johnson, had raised similar issues before, even accusing him of stolen valor. So these doubts have been floating around for a bit.
So if you step back, what does this whole episode tell us?
Well, it really underscores how narratives about heroism, especially in chaotic situations like war, can be contested, how different people can remember things differently, or perhaps how initial reports might not capture the full picture.
It definitely highlights the need to look at multiple sources and maybe be a bit cautious, even with official-looking documents.
Absolutely. Which brings us neatly to the second big area,
Yeah.
the House Ethics Committee investigation.
Right. This started with a referral from the Office of Congressional Ethics, the OCE, back in August 2024.
Yeah, the OCE flagged a few things. Potential problems with Mills' financial disclosures, maybe omissions or inaccuracies, questions about campaign contributions, and this possibility that his companies might have held federal contracts while he was actually serving in Congress.
And we got more specifics when the OCE released their full report, right? March 27th, 2025, Politico and the OCE website itself had the details.
That's right. And a key focus really was on these potential federal contracts. The OCE report suggested that companies linked to Mills Paysham Defense, Paysham Solutions International, maybe another one called ALS Inc., might have had contracts for things like less lethal ammo with federal law enforcement, maybe even the DOJ.
While he was a sitting congressman.
While he was a sitting congressman, yeah. And that immediately throws up red flags about potential conflicts of interest, which is, a huge ethical concern for any elected official.
Absolutely. And what about who actually owned these companies?
That's another key part. The OCE noted that while Paysham Defense and Paysham Solutions are apparently run by his wife now, Rana Al-Saadi, Mills himself previously owned them or had a majority stake.
And that other company, ALS Inc.
Yeah, that one was interesting. It was apparently linked to Paysham Defense on LinkedIn, but according to the OCE, Mills didn't disclose it in his filing, so again, a potential lack of transparency there.
It wasn't just the contracts either, was it? There are other financial questions.
No. The OCE also wanted the Ethics Committee to look closer at potential omissions in his financial disclosures generally. And they flagged over $1.8 million in personal loans he made to his own campaign. Plus, some amendments made to his income reports from Paycham Solutions during the campaign. It all points towards potential issues with just how accurate and complete his financial reporting was. And that's, fundamental for accountability.
So what did the OCE actually recommend the House Ethics Committee do?
They recommended further review specifically on the financial disclosures and the federal contracts issues, but they suggested dismissing some other allegations about things like excessive in-kind contributions, that's non-cash stuff given to a campaign, and impermissible gifts. So it wasn't like they recommended investigating everything.
Okay. And the House Ethics Committee, what have they done since getting that recommendation?
Well, they announced back in December 2024 they were extending their review, and then again on March 27th, 2025, they said they were going to continue gathering information. Basically, they took the OCE's findings and said, okay, we need to keep digging here.
The fact they're continuing the review suggests they think there's something worth looking into more deeply.
It certainly implies that yes. Now, Mills's response. He's basically said this is all politically motivated.
Right, pointing fingers at political opponents.
Pretty much. He said he'll cooperate fully with the investigation, but he also pointed out that a similar complaint filed with the Federal Election Commission, the FEC, by that same primary challenger, was recently dismissed. He's trying to frame it as just another attack.
So why is this whole ethics investigation relevant for you, the listener?
Well, it really gives you a clear window into the kind of ethical tightrope elected officials have to walk. It shows the level of scrutiny they face, especially around money, business interests, and potential conflicts with their public duties.
Yeah, transparency and avoiding even the appearance of impropriety are just so crucial for maintaining public trust, aren't they?
Couldn't agree more. Okay, so that brings us to the final area we need to cover today. This alleged assault investigation.
This one surfaced in February 2025, reported by NBC4 Washington and also noted on Mills' Wikipedia page. It involves the D.C. Metropolitan Police investigating a report of a physical assault against a woman, not his wife, at his apartment in D.C.
Yeah, and the initial details from the police report, as NBC4 laid them out, were quite concerning. The report apparently said Mills allegedly grabbed her, shoved her, and pushed her out of the door.
And the woman showed officers bruises.
Uh-huh. What looked like fresh bruises, according to a report. It also mentioned a phone call where Mills supposedly told the woman to lie about where the bruises came from. And later the report says he admitted to police that a verbal fight got physical and caused bruising.
That's quite a detailed initial account from the police perspective.
It is. But the situation got complicated quickly. The woman involved later gave a statement saying that while the argument was very emotionally charged, there was no physical abuse.
So she retracted the initial implication of assault.
Essentially, yes. She attributed the bruises to other things, medical conditions,
Yeah.
a recent overseas trip, and because of her changing account, Mills wasn't arrested at the scene.
And there were questions about how the police handled it, too.
Right. NBC4 reported that the police department started an internal affairs investigation into why an arrest wasn't made right away, and also why the incident was apparently classified, at least initially, as just a family disturbance rather than something potentially criminal.
And there was something about an arrest warrant.
Yeah, another layer. There was reportedly an arrest warrant drafted and sent over to the U.S. Attorney's Office, but it wasn't signed. It got sent back for more investigation. That suggests some uncertainty or maybe disagreement within the legal process about how to proceed.
So Mills denies everything.
His official stance is that he vehemently denies any wrongdoing whatsoever. And he heavily emphasizes the fact that the alleged victim herself later denied any assault occurred. His defense seems to really lean on her revised statement.
This whole part of the story just really shows how incredibly complex and difficult these kinds of domestic incident investigations can be, doesn't it?
Absolutely. You have conflicting stories, retracted statements, procedural questions. It makes getting to the bottom of it really challenging.
Okay, before we wrap up, maybe just a little more context. His background before politics.
Sure. Just pulling from the Wikipedia info. Before Congress, he was heavily involved in business. Co-founded companies like Paysem Solutions International and Paysem Defense. These were involved in things like risk management, security, even international arms deals.
Arms deals. Okay.
Yeah. And there were mentions of some past financial issues with Paysem, like debt and a plant shutdown. He also co-founded ALS Less Lethal Systems, and he was on the Defense Business Board for a bit under Trump, resigned when Biden took office.
And his political career since 2023. Any highlights or controversies?
Well, he's been involved in some high-profile things, like helping with evacuations from Afghanistan and Israel, but also more controversial stuff, like gifting commemorative inert, apparently grenades, to fellow House members when he arrived.
I remember that.
Yeah, made headlines. He's also co-sponsored resolutions to impeach President Biden and other officials, visited Syria post-Assad's government fall, generally been quite active and sometimes provocative. He endorsed Trump for 2024, voted against the debt ceiling deal last year.
Okay, so that broader picture helps contextualize where he comes from. Military, defense industry, now politics. It shows these current controversies are happening against that backdrop.
Exactly. So just to sort of recap everything we've dug into today.
We've looked at these really significant discrepancies around his Bronze Star story.
Then there's the ongoing House Ethics Committee investigation, focusing on potential conflicts of interest, his financial disclosures.
And finally, these unresolved questions about that alleged assault incident in D.C.
Yeah. And as we've kind of seen all the way through, it's just so important to weigh all the information critically, right?
Definitely. We've got conflicting accounts from people directly involved, official reports that seem to point different ways sometimes, and investigations that are still ongoing. Nothing's fully settled yet.
Which leads us to maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on.
Okay.
Given everything we've unpacked today, what does this whole case suggest about the kind of scrutiny public figures face? Especially maybe those who build part of their image on military service and heroism.
And how do you, as someone trying to stay informed, navigate all these conflicting narratives? How do you decide who or what seems credible when you're faced with such complex, evolving situations like this?
Yeah. It's definitely something worth thinking about.